watch till the end and you'll see what it looks like when you're off gear, off training for like 3 weeks. Like, do you actually lose muscle, you know?
Here's the thing I have to tell Genetic Anomaly. I'm sorry, but in 3 weeks, you haven't even begun to notice just how bad it's going to be. Coach Greg, and in today's video, it's a good one. We all know Genetic Anomaly, the guy with the Halloween mask with the crazy amounts of muscle. Well, he's recently stopped taking steroids, and he goes over the horrendous side effects that he's experienced. He's open, honest, and transparent, and this is exactly what we need. And we all know this guy ain't using small doses. It ain't TRT. He's not just using peptides. He's abusing everything. And so we're going to learn from him. What do you do? What do you not do? Let's get right into it.
We're also going to train legs for the first time in like 3 weeks. I'm going to train hard.
And so it's been 3 weeks. He hasn't been training weights. And so that's the perfect time to come off. The reason he's not training weights is, as you all know, he had severe gynecomastia. This is known as bitch tits. Essentially, testosterone converts to estrogen, and this causes female breast tissue to develop. And so it's odd. You're taking testosterone, it's kind of turning you into a woman. And when women take testosterone, it kind of turns them into a man. And so essentially with these hormones, we're getting role reversals. We're becoming women in the breasts, and women are becoming men and well below the belt.
The only thing I can't do is raise my arms up. Like I can't do like a squat, for example, you know. So we can do maybe like leg extension, seated leg curl. It's gonna be a good leg day.
Here's the thing I have to tell Genetic Anomaly. I'm sorry, but in 3 weeks, you haven't even begun to notice just how bad it's going to be. When you're on abusive doses of testosterone, especially when they're long esters, they haven't completely cleared from your system. 3 weeks later, if you were to do a blood test or, for example, get drug tested, check out your testosterone, it's still going to be above normal. Think of it like this. If you went to a buffet at 8 p.m. at night and ate 10,000 calories, the next morning, you're still going to be feeling the effects of that food. If you think it's bad now, wait another 3 weeks or heavens forbid 3 more months.
I really want to vacuum. Don't you want to make my life easier because I'm cleaning all the time?
Genetic Anomaly, he's got a fantastic woman. They're at a PlayStation store, and here is her request. Can you buy me a vacuum cleaner so that I can clean the apartment? You got to keep this woman. She seems great. I am all for this. I'm going to make your life easier. Would you like me to get a Ninja Creamy, maybe a blender, some oven mitts so that you can both cook and clean all of the time? And what else do you need? Perhaps you need some throat coat. You all know when you're getting sick, the throat coat. What exactly do you need? I'm here to support you, dear.
I'm living my dream right now. Like a few years ago, I would never think I would have money to afford a PlayStation.
And so here's the thing. When you become richer than last time, when you suddenly come into money, whether you were poor and now you're making $1,000 a week, or whether you were doing all right and now you're making $100,000 a week, whatever that may be, when you make more than you used to make, it feels really good. I'm telling you, you're going to work harder and harder to make more money, and you're going to be happier. But remember, this is only up to a certain point. Once you make past $1 million a year, making more money, it doesn't make you happier. Making $10 million or $100 million or $1 billion, it doesn't make you happier than making $1 million. When you start making that kind of money, it doesn't really matter. It's almost like you're playing with numbers. It's like Monopoly. It's like, yeah, buy this, buy that. You don't need a yacht. You don't need a private jet. And so once you've made $1 million, I'm telling you, you've made it. But if you keep thinking you need to make more, hey, you've bought a Urus, you bought a McLaren, you've got a Ferrari, you've got a Bugatti. Where does it end? Do you now need to buy a $100 million yacht to feel anything?
So let's say we rewind like 3 to 4 years back and I buy a PlayStation at that time. Like that would give me so much dopamine and excitement I can't even explain.
When I bought my first AMG, I paid $47,000. I couldn't believe it. This car was my dream car. I've made it. The next car is a Mercedes GT63S. I'm paying 4 times that amount. The feeling was perhaps about the same. Honestly, It was the same at most. Then I purchased a Urus and followed by a McLaren. And I'm telling you, I was more excited on those first two vehicles. The dopamine was higher than on my last two. Despite the fact that these vehicles I have are much more expensive, the prior vehicles, they felt more. And this is a true story. Nothing compares to this feeling. When I bought my first bicycle in grade 8 and I had saved up my money for months, it cost me about $400. It took me months, 6 months to a year in order to be able to afford it. And when I bought that bicycle, I couldn't believe it. I was humming. I could feel the emotions. Wow, it's a $400 bike. But to me, I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't have a job. And so saving up my birthday money, Christmas money, and so on, I finally got this bicycle. And so because I had never bought anything like that before, I couldn't believe it. But as you get older, as you start buying more and more expensive things, the feelings you get from it, they gradually diminish, and it gets to a point where you don't really feel anything. I mean, perhaps you remember the first time you gambled, you bet $5 and you won 10. That was exciting. But pretty soon you're Togi putting in $150,000 on a buy-in and talking to Mr. Beast on the phone. Hey, Togi, do you want to donate $100,000 to drinking water? And it's like,
I misspoke. X and Aiden actually donated 400,000.
Now I look like a bitch. I can do 25,000.
To get the same amount of dopamine, you keep on having to go further. And so I'm telling you, comparison is the thief. Be happy what you have and don't compare yourself to other people.
I think it's from maybe the gear and just all the stress and bullshit that I've been through. It kind of like rewired my brain. Like I've become too mature in a way. It's like I cannot enjoy myself.
Listen, what he's describing is anhedonia. This is something that has come to fruition for many people who are using ashwagandha. Ashwagandha, for me, it does nothing bad. I can take ashwagandha, I could stop, no problems. Other people, for a small minority of people, they don't feel regular human emotions following taking Allegonia. Same applies to people taking steroids. For some reason, it changes them. The brain chemistry, the mind, it can no longer compensate effectively. The same applies to when you go and you visit your friend Molly. Molly, she's a sweet gal, but some people upon leaving Molly, the next day, they just are simply depressed. They have no happiness. They're sad. They're perhaps a little hungover. And to those people, it's very sad. For myself, I'm always happy. I'm always feeling amazing. I don't know why. Perhaps it's because I'm doing cardio and eating healthy, and the healthier you are, the more you can handle these negative times.
Nothing is triggering that part of my brain that gives me excitement. Like it's very rare that I feel that.
It means nothing. That happens to many people. And so if you're one of those rare people and you're very, very depressed, please go and seek out medical help, counselors and so on, psychologists. We don't want you to be so sad that you don't feel it's worth it to be here on this earth. You know what I'm talking about.
I did push myself a bit too much because I stayed on bulk and on cycle for an extra 3 months. And that kind of ruined a lot of parts of my brain.
And so he's saying, I stayed on steroids for far too long. He kept pushing the bulk. When you're on steroids, it's hard to stop. Perhaps you put on 20 pounds of muscle. Do you really want to now stop and lose 10 of those pounds? 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That's what it's like when you're cycling steroids. Everyone wants the 2 steps forward, but no one wants the 1 or 2 steps back. And so what do? 2 steps forward. Hey, why not make it 3? But the problem is all good things come to an end. I don't care if you're visiting your friend Molly. You can't stay over at her place for far too long. You can't be visiting her for days on end. She might want you over for a couple hours, perhaps the evening, but eventually you got to go. And so the same applies to steroids. You can't just abuse them the way that you want. My suggestion, instead of abusing performance-enhancing drugs, of which I in fact did, I cycled on and off for years, is to rather than that, perhaps you could try enclomiphene. Perhaps you could do HRT. Rather than being on and off, 2 steps forward, 1 step back, why not just make slow and steady gains for several years to come? Way better, in my opinion, than, for example, going on these massive bulks followed by these cuts. You're doing bodybuilding competitions. You're getting fat in the off season. You're looking at your reflection in the mirror and you're not very happy. Does it not make more sense to just main gain? I haven't done a steroid cycle in approximately 5 years, but I'm always happy. Every time I look in the mirror, I'm thinking, looks pretty good. I know I'm almost 50 years old. I'm 49, but I'm happy, guys. And so if I went on a steroid cycle right now and put on 10, perhaps 15 pounds of muscle, I would love it. Trust me, I would love to do it. But I care about my health. And I also realize that if I put on 10 or 15 pounds of muscle, all good things come to an end. I'm going to have to cycle off and I'm going to lose all that muscle and go back to where I am right now. And because I would remember seeing myself at 200 plus pounds of muscle, comparison is the thief. And so I would remember myself looking that way and I would then feel small. Once you're on steroids, it's hard to go back. It's hard to stop. I was able to do it by putting my pursuits elsewhere in cycling. I compare my bike race results or my watts, my speed, my power, my heart rate, and so on to what I did when I was younger. And so now that I'm improving, I feel good. But if I continue to bodybuild, what do you think would have happened? Eventually, I get a stroke, a heart attack, I'm not healthy, my liver, my kidneys, and so on. And so you can't abuse steroids forever. And so please, if you're considering doing it, don't. Contact AlgoRx by clicking the link in the description. Doctors who will not judge you can help you. Do you need tadalafil, Cialis in order to get bigger pumps, to get a bigger pump for your downstairs? Do you need enclomiphene to boost your testosterone levels? The prices are cheaper than last time, less than half of companies like Merrick Health. And so if you need quality medications prescribed by a doctor that's legal, you know what to do. Click the link in the description, enter code Greg for 10% off.
So this is why you shouldn't take steroids. They think they're gonna get rich and happy. I'm living my dream right now and I feel almost nothing. Like all I feel is frustration and I'm constantly irritated.
Just because you're rich, I mean, he's making some money. He's making bank. Genetic Anomaly, he's doing fantastic. Now, perhaps he's not a multimillionaire, but he's certainly making more money than he ever imagined. And I'm proud of him. He's doing an amazing job. I love his videos, his physique, and I think he's a great person to follow. I love the fact that he's being honest about this. He's opening up and saying, this is my experience. I took steroids, and now I'm having a very difficult time feeling normal emotions. Mike Israetel spoke of this. Remember, he went down to that lake, and he remembered in the past he had feelings about this, but he could no longer feel human emotions. And so most of you, all you care about is if you're losing your hair, getting gyno, or perhaps getting acne. But there's more to it than that. There is, in fact, your brain. He's talking about losing brain cells. Using tren, it's making you dumber. It alters the way that you think. While you're on it, you don't know that it's affecting you. But when you come off, that's when you realize it. There's a reason why lawyers, for example, will say you don't sign contracts when you're inebriated. That means that you're drunk, or when you're high, when you're under certain substances. Your feelings are different than normal. The same applies when you're on performance-enhancing drugs. Your thoughts are not that of your own. And so please reconsider, especially if you're young. You should be training until you reach your natural genetic potential, or at least at the minimum, you're 25 years of age and been training for close to 10 years.
I'm not gonna name people, but I've met a lot of people, and in America as well. Everyone's kind of fucked up, you know, in this industry. Anyone who takes steroids, they're all kind of unhappy.
I've experienced the same thing. A lot of the most famous people that you're going to meet, they're not happy. They have all the money in the world, the fame, the glory, the cars, everything, but they aren't genuinely happy. And so I know many of you are going to say, yeah, but you have all this money. It's so easy for you to say. I had it both ways. Remember, before this, I had no money whatsoever. I was a school teacher. I had lost my job. I didn't have anything. And I'm telling you, you have to make happiness come from within. You have the choice. You have the power to make your life a good one.
It changes the way you look at life and the perspective on things, because things kind of just stick to you a bit more and it's hard to let them go.
It's from the steroids. It isn't you. You likely don't know these things. You're just experimenting with these substances, hoping to put on more muscle. Perhaps you want to look more attractive, to attract girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. You need to be careful.
I didn't take a lot of gear, you know, compared to some people. I barely took anything.
Lies. Sorry. Comparison is the thief. And so Here's the people that he's comparing himself to. He hung around with the Trend Twins. He's hung around with Mr. Olympia champion bodybuilders. He's sponsored by guys who have more muscle than you would ever believe. And so his circle of friends are all people who are abusing performance-enhancing drugs. Now, I'm not saying they're bad people in the slightest. Everyone does their thing. Look, I've made the same choices. I'm certain that I use higher doses than he has, but he thinks that they're small doses because his friends are using higher doses. If his friends were all natural, let's say his friends were Will Tennyson, Jesse James West, and Jeff Nippard, Hussein Farhat, do you think that he would feel like he's on very high doses or low doses? Well, aside from Turk Builder Max and GO2 Max and GLP Max, I'm not taking anything. And so he would say, oh, 500 milligrams of this and 500 milligrams of that. That is a lot. Aldura feels like he has very low cycles. He's on the dad cycle. Perhaps it's 500 milligrams of Test and some Anavar. Hey, it's hardly anything. But then I say, I'm on 140. And so you're taking 4 times as much as me, plus you're taking Anavar. 4 times as much. It's very low doses. It's 4 times what I'm taking. Does that sound low to you?
Watch till the end and you'll see what it looks like when you're off gear, off training for like 3 weeks. Like, do you actually lose muscle, you know?
And so, of course, you lose muscle. 3 weeks of not training, you're going to lose some muscle. But remember this, muscle memory. With muscle memory, you put on the muscle approximately 3 times faster than you had to do it the first time. And so if you lose the muscle, it's going to come back faster than last time. It's been 3 weeks since his last shot. So obviously his testosterone levels are going down. He hasn't worked out for 3 weeks. And so he's going to appear a little bit smaller.
Work on your mental health or you're just going to end up like another loser on the street. Like, don't be a loser. Man up.
Don't feel bad for yourself. Don't feel sorry for yourself. You're in control of you. As soon as you put the blame on other people, even if it was their fault, you have to say, nope, I'm going to do better. Somebody ripped you off. Somebody scammed you. Somebody treated you poorly. Yep, I'm going to keep going, because if you just say it's because of this, it's because of that, it's because of them, you'll never feel you have the power to change. And so whatever your life circumstance, you got to that. It's on you. Oh, but that boss fired you for this, he fired you for that, your girlfriend dumped you because you didn't make enough money, whatever, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter!
And so what you do is you say, I can change. I can do better. You keep moving forward. You take a step. The next day you take another. You don't just sit back and let your life pass you by.
1 fat scoop, because today should be a good pump. So we'll throw that in.
And speaking of pump, what I recommend you take is the Blue Lobster pre before you go to the gym, but then while you're training, you take pre-pump. I take it intra-workout. It gets me more vascular than last time. You're staying hydrated, very effective. Now, for some people, if you want to be natural but push the envelope, you can in fact use perhaps 5, maybe even 10 milligrams of tadalafil, known as Cialis. If you're interested in getting that, of course, click the link in description and contact Algo RX. For some people, you know, Coach Greg, he's getting older. I'm, in fact, taking Cialis.
I overdid it on the gear in terms of I stayed on for too long and it removed a bit of my brain cells, you know, and I can't get them back.
And so he jokes around. He's like, you know, I've removed some of my brain cells. I can't get them back. He has brain fog. He says, you know, I've lost a lot of muscle. But remember, he can get the muscles back. It's important to understand that all good things come to an end. When the cycle ends, the cycle ends. You have to say it's time to stop. Just like when you visit your friend Molly, if she says, you know, you can come over till 10 o'clock, and you got to go, you can't stay over all night. You need to have balance.
But I know there's guys who have an extreme mindset and they want to get to where I am, so they blast
Kirk!
out of their body.
So almost everyone has an extreme mindset. Do you know how many people say, I'm just going to do 1 steroid cycle? Most are like, I just want to put on 10 pounds of muscle, and then they put the 10 pounds of muscle and they want 10 pounds more. The goalpost, it keeps moving. You'll never reach it. You keep trying, but it's going to keep getting further. Hey, my goal is to make $1 million. Once you've made $1 million, let's make 2. Once it's 2, it's 5, then it's 10, then it's 100. You need to live in the moment. You need to experience and practice gratitude. It's all about being appreciative of what you have. And of course, you can keep setting goals, but realistic ones and ones that are good for your health.
The only reason I'm not fat and like I don't look too bad aside from all the hair is because I stick to my diet.
Let's really be honest here. It's been 3 weeks. I mean, even if he had eaten junk food, he would still have a lot of muscle. Genetic Anomaly already has a physique better than 99.999% of the population. And so 3 weeks out training, he's still going to look amazing. I mean, he could go 3 months without training and still have more muscle than 99.9% of people. Remember, it is going to get worse. He's making this video, but he's only 3 weeks off cycle. Wait until 3 months and then show the difference. We all know Daddy Noel. Everyone loves Noel. Remember, this guy was over 300 pounds and he was blasting performance-enhancing drugs. He doesn't say exactly how much, but it was more than HRT. And so he was asked, what if you didn't do steroids? Would you lose all your muscle? And so he says, this is what I look like when I went off steroids. He was still on high-dose HRT, and perhaps he was on growth hormone. We don't know. Perhaps peptides. He's still 260 pounds of muscle. He likely feels small. He likely doesn't think he has enough muscle. He's 260 pounds jacked. Let that be a lesson. Noel Diesel on steroids, then Noel Diesel without steroids, but he's still on HRT, which is still steroids. He's still huge, but he feels small. No matter how much muscle you put on, it's never enough. Noel was smaller when he was growing up. He felt like a skinny guy. Perhaps he was bullied and so on. He wanted to put on that muscle, but he was never happy. Even at 300 pounds, he still wanted more. But eventually, he had to lower the doses. We've seen him in the hospital. He had some very serious hernias, which of course is made worse from using performance-enhancing drugs. Your body becomes too strong for its own good. You can easily tear ligaments. You can get a hernia. You can tear tendons. Everything becomes more dangerous. And so if you do decide to use steroids, I beg you, the lowest dose that makes you happy. Whatever planned dose you plan on doing, you probably should divide it in half.
I don't remember a moment where I kind of slowed things down. And that's what also caused me to have issues with my mental health and why I have barely any dopamine.
He keeps chasing the thrill. He keeps moving the goalpost. I'll stop taking steroids when I gain 10 more pounds. 10 more pounds later, 10 more pounds. And so finally he's decided to take a break. His physique is going to get smaller. This is normal, but it's part of the process. You have to do this. If you don't, how long are you going to last?
The point is, I overdid it, so be cautious with this shit because I didn't know that I was overdoing it until the damage was done.
Excellent video. If you don't want to make the mistakes he did, consider hiring Coach Greg as your coach. You can do so by clicking the link in the description. Also, if you're interested, please support Momentous Clothing by clicking the link in the description, as well as the cookbooks, the training books, the coaching plans by me and my team, the Circle Diet Book, all the supplements. You can enter code Greg for 15% off and Algo RX code Greg 10% off. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment to boost the algorithm, like the video if you liked it. Don't forget to watch one of those 2 bloops. And until next time, I am out.